Hello, it is time to talk about cross stitch with me. I am Karen and I am the Stitching Owl here on YouTube as well as on Instagram. I hope that you have been having a good start to your November as we, well, in Ontario are transitioning from fall winter to winter weather. My area has already had a school closure day due to getting a foot of snow in a short period of time. It is now in the process of melting, and we're okay if it waits till December 24th to come back. If this is your first time visiting with me, thank you for pressing play and checking out my channel. I really appreciate you taking the time, and I hope that you'll find something that is to your liking. For those of you who return again and again, thank you for being my friend. I really appreciate the support and love that I receive from each and every one of you, and know that my videos typically are not short ones, therefore you are giving me the precious gift of time. Now today I'm thinking that it won't be quite as long because the past 2 weeks have been a little bit different than my typical stitching weeks. One thing is, yes, you're actually going to see that I did a day of FFOing. So that day meant that there was little to no stitching done. And then I channeled my inner Melanie, where I picked a couple of projects and really tried to see them through as much as possible. So right now, with it being the mid-month tomorrow of November, we are looking towards what we are doing to finish out the year. So temperature stitching did not happen in the last couple of weeks. I will get caught up with my lazy daisies and into the November. I was the receiver of Happy Mail from Mrs. Stitches, where I won this Glendon Place, the Witch's Wheel. When she put this up as something that you could pop your name on for, I thought, that is right up my daughter's alley. So it's one with only 1 or 2 colors of floss and the rest is done in beads. So I think we can have fun, and I'm definitely going to look for a really cool piece of fabric for that one because it's just shouting for it, isn't it? So thank you, Sheila. And now I need to pull out a piece of paper so that I can actually do what Laura does and keep track of those people that I mention. So with the idea in mind of my finishing as many of my whips as is logical to hope for in 2025 so that I can start lots of things in 2026, I have decided to let whip go. I am not counting that as a failure. I am saying I had 10 months of complete success, and I will be working on the fully finishing of those items. I had quite a few bingos already on my whip go board, but I just think that that is where my heart is, especially going into December where I like to stitch all the Christmas stuff. I want to bring your attention to the description box below, where I have a section called My Flosstube Friends, which are people that I stitch with on a regular basis, who are dear, dear friends of mine, and all have floss tubes that I think are worthy of your minutes and hours as well. I hope you'll check everybody out, and you'll notice that I have added into my Flosstube Friends Kathryn of Accounting My Stitches. I'm going to take a moment to just revisit Stitch 26. This is an event that is being hosted by Alison of Mrs. AZ Family Zoo and I as a Celebrate New Year's 2026, where we come online to stitch together and just enjoy each other's company on a day where most people actually are not expected to report to work. Now, I've had the question as to what project are we stitching that day, and it is completely open. Each of us will have a moment to introduce ourselves if you want to and show what it is that we're working on. Alison has designed an adorable pattern that will be provided free of charge to the participants, but it's not anticipated that that's necessarily what you're working on that day. It is just a thank you for coming and getting to know us. There will be other prizes, as I am also having some games. Those people who have had the opportunity to join me on Canada Chats know what type of games I have. Really, they are all oriented to cross-stitching and just getting to know you and what you like to stitch. And so what I request is that those of you who are interested, email me at the email below or email Alison. I will pop her email address into my description box as well. We will be using a Google Meet, which essentially we are just using your email, sending a link to your email. You press the button and ta-da. This week on one of my stitches, Rose of Untwist Your Stitches joined us, and she said, well, you know, I'm not very good with technology, but I got on, and we had a great time getting to know Rose more personally. She has a lovely floss tube that I hope you will look into as well. So we will be hosting more than one session. I will quote you the Eastern Standard Times of 9 o'clock and 2 o'clock. We have left a space. These will be 2 hours long, so that if we have enough interest, we can run one from 11:30 to 1:30. And as I mentioned in my last video, if you are in the other end of the world, like Australia, New Zealand, and would like to have a 6:30 in the evening for you, which is 6:30 in the morning for me, I am happy to host a 2-hour session at that point as well. So my New Year's Day will definitely be full of stitching and friendship. So I hope you will join me, and just alert people that I am happy when you say, oh, that sounds like fun, in the comments below, but Alison and I do need an actual email to confirm your registration. For those of you who are soft-spoken, we are going to cap the amount of people in the chat room to about 15, so that we won't be overwhelmed by how many personalities are there, and it allows us natural conversation with open microphones. Okay, as mentioned before, I did take time to do some FFOing. So I have been working on Trick or Treat by Cottage Garden Sampling, and I made my Halloween owl into a small, and I also made my pumpkin snowman into a small. Okay, so what I did here was, when I went around the blanket stitching, I added another flourishy type knot. I got this idea off of an embroidery site, so that it looks like I've got lace or mini pom-poms, like teeny tiny all the way around, but really it is just knotting my pearl cotton. And because this was about Halloween, I used a black pearl cotton for those two finishes. Well, fully finished items. Also, I took it was a fun stitch that I did with regards to Thanksgiving, and I didn't end up FFOing it in time for Canadian Thanksgiving, so I thought, well, let's do it for American Thanksgiving then. So this is Gobble Gobble by Erica Michaels. Now I did this on a 32 count even weave with sulky thread, and I'll have to say that this even weave is one that I have ultimately ended up throwing out the rest of it. I tried 3 other patterns on this, and my problem is that it feels like it's elastic. It literally keeps on stretching the more you work with it, so it was actually extremely hard to get anything square, and really my turkeys are not square, but I'm just letting it go. And when I started to do some thoughts about Christmas stitching, I just was dissatisfied with the look. So I have actually pitched this particular piece. I mean, it's a nice neutral color. It just wasn't a fabric that I wanted to experience yet again. Now, my other 2 FFOs are actually stitches of my daughter. Last year, she stitched all of the woodland creatures of Cute Patterns by Maria, but I am behind on my FFOing. So I did the bunny. And I also did for her door, she's soon going to be taking down her pumpkin carriage, this Christmas terrarium by Tiny Modernist. So when I do these for the door, I use literally felt on the back, and again, I do not use any glue, but you are welcome to. It's whatever's in your comfort zone. This is all stitched so that we can take this apart at a later date, and of course I included some Christmas rickrack around the edge just for a little bit of added fun. And this is cording. I do have a Krynic quarter now, and I'm taking advantage of all of the lovely extra floss that I have received that are not DMC colors to make cording for future projects. I find it great fun. Now I will say, to be honest, you do not need a Krynic quarter to make these. I noticed Carrie of Tiger Lily, she used actually a drill to create the rotating motion, and it worked really fast and thoroughly. And I have also, previous to owning the Krynic quarter, I have just attached floss to a doorknob and walked back 7 or 8 feet, because you need a lot of footage to make cording to go around one of these objects. And then I've just kept twisting it until it started to fold up on itself. Now, does it take a while to get that twist tight enough? Absolutely. But you do not need to have a Krynic quarter if you cannot find one. So those are my FFOs, and I'm so pleased to have something to show you today. Now, in the area of finishes, I will pop in, or maybe Dee will pop in, a picture of the wall-sized Noel quilt that I finished, and fully finished with binding and all. There will be a class on how to make this particular quilt in the size of your choice. And in this particular one, if you're doing the small one, or perhaps even the large one, I'll be teaching how to fussy cut, so that if you look in here, you'll find that yes, indeed, I had more spots for owls, big snowflakes, poinsettias. I took advantage of the beautiful fabrics that Stitch It Central provides to me. Literally, I get to play with fabric free of charge for them, and it is ever so much fun. And I have to say that I'm so pleased that Stitch It Central did the long arm quilting on my large Noel, and at the end, Maria said to me, I want to take that one home for in my place, and I was so honored that she would want to take something that I made home. So that was a good feeling day, wasn't it? Now for the other finishes, these are all my daughter's finishes. I thought I wasn't going to have much to show you other than the Noel walls hanging. And Thursday I got a bag with 3 finished items. So this is Halloween Cats by the Tiny Modernist. Yes, indeed, you do need to embrace some backstitching in order for this to come alive, but I think my daughter has got the hang of it, and she has said she doesn't mind doing the backstitching when she sees the picture come to life as it does here. So this is not all that big, so it's about the size of my hand, and it's still a little bit damp from my pressing. She also finished another Tiny Modernist, which was from the Bookworm leaflet, where you could do each one of these guys as a small, or you could put them into a bookmark, or you could make what looks like a clock setting. So she did it in circular setting, and I think I will finish this for a door wall hanging for her for those months where we don't have anything exciting that we are actually celebrating to put on our doors. She's like me. She's not as much of a wintry person. But I think this was adorable, and she found it very easy. And honestly, that little guy there, if you have leftover floss from kits or from inheriting stashes, it's easy enough to just use what's in your stash. You don't have to do everything in the exact colors. Now the last finish that my daughter dropped off, I am so pleased. Last year, I'd say probably in the summer, I gave her a Nora Corbet, and this is this is White Clover, I believe. Hang on. Yes, White Clover from Poison Pixies by Nora Corbet. And she managed the Krynic and everything. Is that not beautiful? So I'm thinking I want to do an official framing of this one for her because it certainly deserves it. I don't know if you can, okay, you can sort of see the sparkle when I move it like that. Now I know that I'm going to have to continue doing my pressing because she doesn't have an iron at her place. Sometimes these get to me a little bit wrinkled, and as yet she hasn't discovered that cotton has as much memory as an elephant does. So, and she doesn't have a felt wall like I do that is supposed to be for quilting that I use for my stitching projects so they don't get as wrinkled. Now I am just going to take a moment for a public service announcement, a PSA. I'm sure you're noticing that I am looking better this week. So after following up with my chemo cream, I did have another round of cream to heal my forehead, and I am much better. Look at that. So I just want to take a moment and say to each of you, if the texture of your skin changes and has a repetitive type, what I call sloughing off, just a light peeling of the area, mention it to your doctor. I know that twice I went to a doctor and the doctor looked at my forehead. This was a few years ago. And each of the doctors said, it doesn't look like you've got a problem. And my husband and I were like, but we think that there is. And in both cases, I was lucky that each of those doctors said, well, I've learned to trust the patient. And so they took a snip of skin, and indeed, there was a problem exactly where I had said there was. So when we asked my doctor a month ago now, about my forehead, and he looked at it and says, this is not eczema, instantly they wanted to treat the issue. And so I'm just saying to you, trust your instincts. It is better to ask and find out you're healthy than to not ask and years down the road discover that you ignored an instinct. So please take care of you. And now we are going to go on to my works in progress. Now there have not, usually you end up with almost a rip parade from me, but not this week because I didn't get as many stitches into as many different elements. I have been stitching on Pretty Pumpkins by Owl Forest Embroidery. There is a cell called Owl Around the World, which has a lovely chat group on Instagram. And so this is part of that. Now, this is also part of the hashtag pumpkin birthday cell to help celebrate October birthday of Laura. And so I've got the big gourd most of the way done, and then I decided that I wanted to get started on this big leaf. Now, I had a few days where the weather was weathering me, and when I went back to this, I definitely discovered that where this leaf is placed is not quite right. But in my mind, this is a gourd sampler. Tiny, yes, tiny in part because I'm stitching this 1/1 on 25 count pewter Lugana. But I have no interest in taking 1/1 out if I don't have to, and I feel that I can channel my inner Kim and say, let's rearrange the motifs and make it what we want. So I haven't decided how many of the motifs I'm going to top out at. As the pattern itself goes, I have 1,257 stitches done for 35.22%. I just don't know if I'm truly going to do all stitches that are on this because I could see this being a round for a door as well. So that was Pretty Pumpkins, and I know that Laura celebrated her birthday all month long, as she should. Actually, each of us should. And as you know, one of many favorite designers is Max Pigeon of Pigeon Coop Designs. And almost at all times, I have a Pigeon Coop pattern. And right now, I have Autumn Drizzle on the go, and I'm sure Dee is popping the final picture up for you. Now, this didn't get as much as normal, but there was progress made. I got all the way to this side, and I'm almost to the bottom. You can see I've got waves going there before I find the bottom scoop here. The last thing that I did here was I experimented. Now, I'm going to invite you to definitely go see Melanie's next Flosstube with her husband, Michael. We got a sneak peek yesterday at one of our stitch-ins of where she was with hers, and she's like 99.9% finished. She's debating on a few birds. And I think that she might have changed the colors just a hint. And I love it when so many of us can start on the same day and end up with something looking very different. So one of the things that I was experimenting with last was these clouds. last time I showed you this, I had the bottom cloud in. There's another cloud above it. The name of this is Drizzle, so it's supposed to be a somewhat rainy day, and I'm okay with that. But the top one, when I put a single strand of floss on my 40 count iced coffee Verdal, hand dyed by Rolanda, I knew it was almost an identical match to my iced coffee fabric. But I think I'm actually going to continue to put in that top cloud, because there are days that the clouds are very much like that, that they are there but barely there in the sky, especially on a drizzly day. You're not necessarily seeing poofy clouds. So I am going to continue. I must say it is harder to do ecru on ecru. It's just like stitching black on black, I will tell you. But I'm hoping that this will be one of the pieces that is finished by the end of 2025. For those of you who are looking at this saying, oh, that looks like so much fun, it is great fun. You do need to embrace the partial stitch. You can see that we've got many spots in here that are representing twigs and the veins and leaves. And certainly when I was chatting with Mary said, you know, the next time I'm doing a max piece, I'm going to check and see if there are a bunch of partials, because then I would do it on an even weave rather than an Aida. It's not that you can't do them on Aida, of course you can. It's just you definitely need to use a sharp needle and have lots of patience. So that is Autumn Drizzle by Max Pigeon. And I've been stitching this with Laura, Melanie, Mary, and Bethany. And I don't even know how far, like I know Melanie is, you'll be seeing it finished. I can't remember whether Bethany's got hers done. She's a quick stitcher, I tell you. We have, yeah, it's hard to keep up with her. And next, I have my Crown Chakra, which is a Harmony and Home, harmonyhomeandheart.com. Edith is the designer, and she's the designer who's trying to make patterns that we need for those days where counting is a challenge, but we still need to stitch. And so they are designs meant to just fill that need for peaceful stitching. And nicely, she will customize this if you need or want to have any letters or signs added. So my goal this time was to add the next layer around, which I have. And as mentioned before, I'm doing this to create a bit of an ombre look. So my gray here was 01. When next I add in the little webbing, it will be 02. So I'm going up in numbers to darker. And then I started here with 605, and then this is 604, and this is 603. And on this one, as you get lower in numbers, you end up with a darkening of the value of the pink. So let's see if I can hold it up close enough. I'm not sure if you can see that I have left a spot to put some beads in. I am very fortunate that Edith said, oh, I'm looking forward to seeing what you can do with the addition of beads. Now I admit I am doing this on a 20 count white Aida. It is your basic Aida that you can get at most needlework shops and even craft stores. So I will have to find a particularly small bead, but they are out there. And if you did it on a 16 count, I think your basic Mill Hill bead or size 10 bead, which is very common to purchase at places like Michael's, would fit beautifully. The invitation is right there to have fun with beads. So at the present time, I have 1,642 stitches in for 23.05%. Now, I am happy to say that one of the pieces that I made sure I picked up on a regular basis, even when time was short, was my reindeer from Year in the Woods. You all know that I had quite the time with it. It was wrong, so I did a complete restart. I'm really happy with where I am now, and I have actually surpassed where I stopped on my first effort, which was around 50%. So this is Year in the Woods 1. Leigh and I will definitely be stitching more of Year in the Woods together in the future. I'm doing this on a 36 count even weave hand dyed by Rolanda. There are 11 DMC colors and it's 100 by 130 in size. Now, the last time we were together on Halloween, I had 1,742 stitches. Today, I've got 3,415. So not quite doubling it, but I'm darn close. And my goal was those antlers that Leigh keeps talking about. I got them in, and they are indeed antlers that any stag should be proud of. So I'm just going to gently remind you that there was a small misprint in symbols in the outer color of the antlers. So I want you to go on to Cottage Garden Samplings errata list, and you will find out what the error is, and they will tell you which floss you're supposed to replace it with. So of course now I need to finish my deer, give him his hindquarters, finish off his front hooves, and then I will be into the other area. And yes, it was purposeful that this would look like he is dancing in the Northern Lights. I'm just taking a moment right now to celebrate multi-crafting. Helen has recently sent me a series of emails where she showed what she was selling at a local fall fair to her. I wish I lived in her city because I certainly would have made some purchases. So as I'm chatting here, you will be seeing photos that Dee has popped in to just show how wonderfully talented Helen is and how wonderful it is to be a multi-crafter. We love our stitching, but we also have many other ways of being creative. Thank you so much, Helen. And next, you know that I have joined with Shelia of the Sunshine Stitchers, as well as EJ and many others in celebrating the birds, bugs, and butterflies of Boomerang stitches. Emily is a very talented designer, and I know that I am going to be celebrating her designing ability many times in the future. So this is technically the Boomerang bird sal, but we don't care what bee, whether it's butterflies or bugs, that you are stitching. And I am doing the ruby-throated hummingbird on 36 count even weave. It is Blue Moon, again hand dyed by Rolanda. It is 120 by 120 in size and has 23 DMC colors. Now, Melanie has already shown this finished on her channel. If you'd like to look back at, I believe it was the last, might have been the one before. She stitched completely and wholeheartedly. So this time my goal was to get in the other hummingbird. Now, the last time we were together, I said if you just did this amount, you could have a finish there. Now, when I thought I might say that this would look finished, but the birds, he's not looking the right way. Like there's going to be more flowers over here. However, I did say to myself, you know, if I put a couple of flowers on this side of this petal and then put him over here, you could have just one pink flower. There's going to be other flowers over here, I believe in purples. I have to look that up. So you could actually have just one stalk of flowers in the center and then the two birds. You can rearrange Amity's patterns with great ease. So I'm just going to hold this up closer. It's just such a joy to stitch on. And right now have 4,290 stitches for 66.37%. And something falls to the floor. So I mentioned to you the last time that Stitches Central had asked me to stitch, here I'll hold it this way, the Seaside Tiny Town, because they had purchased the wooden backer from Paisley's and Polka Dots for this specific tiny town. And so I said, oh yeah, I've got that pattern. I am happy to stitch that for you. So I did put a push on this to get it done because I do like to stitch models fairly promptly. I'm not quite finished, but I expect to be able to finish this afternoon so that when I go to see them tomorrow for my usual Saturday drop-in, that I will be able to take this to them. So this is where I am. This is this side. I have a lighthouse to put in here. And this is to the other side. I've got a weather vane type thing to put in up here. So I am doing this with the called for threads. And it is 2 strands of DMC. I am on a 16 count Ada. It's called Regency and it's by Picture This Plus. It is a lovely neutral that I feel looks kind of sandy, which is appropriate. So this is 176 by 30. It's got 17 DMC colors. And today I've got 3,456 stitches in for 93.7%. So that has indeed a couple of the afternoons where I was stitching with friends. This is the only thing that I did so that I could get like 500 stitches in one afternoon on this particular thing. And I will say, if you have online stitching to do with friends or you're calling family and wanting to stitch just as the Stitchin' Mommy does, the tiny towns work out well for this because it's kind of block stitching and the numbers make sense. So I find that it's actually quite an easy thing to stitch while maintaining a conversation. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to talk about is the fact that I have been saying that the Two Tall Stitchers have put out a challenge, a Big Girl Pants Challenge. And I had said that I had a couple of things that I wanted to embrace and go back to. I hope you're sitting down, because believe it or not, you are going to see the Quaker flag again. And yes, I enjoyed it again. I made the mistake of getting Quakered out earlier this year. Last year I had started I had done 1 dozen Quakers. Oh my goodness, not 100, Shelia. Wow. So it's a Rosewood Manor pattern, and it was part of the Sunshine Stitchers Stitch Along that year. This year they were doing, Put Your Bird on It. And people are wrapping that up. And next year they're doing Antique Lace, Works by ABC, and I have purchased that pattern because yes, it's lovely. So I got a complete, so I did this guy, Quaker in. So this is what he looks like overall. And I do know that certainly our flag does not have any gray here, but white on white is not something I could embrace. It would have really given me, well, it would have intensified my headaches, I'm sure. So I am stitching this with a sulky 1 strand of 12 weight thread. I really only have 4 colors of floss. I've got my red, I've got my light gray, my gridding around the Quakers of the gray is a darker gray, and I'm using a maroon that you can barely see around the red Quakers. So I am excited to pull this out. And you can see that I have not decided whether I'm going to continue with the red. I don't know, they look like, oh, the cathedrals have those spinels on the top. They look like those. So I wasn't sure whether I was going to put red up here or whether I was going to put the dark gray to be in keeping with what it was sitting on. Most of the votes when I said something last time said red, and I'm starting to lean towards that. So I am going to fill this guy in this particular time, and then I will continue on the diagonal. So I'm going to be working at this steadily, but I'm going to try very hard not to burn myself out. This is very tight with sulky on this 36 count linen, and the linen is beautiful linen, but like almost all linens, the threads, some of them are skinny, some of them are not as skinny, and some of them are really not skinny. And so I really have to work with it to make, well, to make the Quakers actually look equal on all sides. And I just find it takes a lot of mental capacity. So you will continue to see this. It will not be a Quaker each week. Will it be every 2 weeks? I'm not sure. We'll have to see. But I did enjoy coming back to this. At the present time, I have 26,067 stitches in for 53.88%. So Carol and Jen, I found those big girl panties. And more things fall. Okay. And now is the thing that took the most time over the past 2 weeks. As many of you know, I have said that when I'm working on my full coverage, I get to a point where I get so excited about getting to the finish that I become very focused. So indeed, I was doing 12 to 1,500 stitches a day on this particular piece over the last 2 weeks, almost accomplishing 10,000 stitches. And I finished by the shore. So now let's see if I can do this properly. So I'm going to stand back. And there we have, by the shore, 100% done. And might I say, this was a lot of green. God bless Katie for how much green is going to be in Yggdrasil. But isn't that amazing? I love Stitches So Beautiful patterns. I really do. So that is truly what my focus for the last 2 weeks has been, and why there are not as many different pieces being shown. I did embrace some fully finishing, and I want to continue with that. In my heart of hearts, I want to continue to celebrate Andrew's marathon accomplishment I finished 3 pieces. I finished the dragon. I finished my butterfly by Doreen Jones, and I finished my cabin in the woods. I would love to be able to continue to celebrate his marathon accomplishment and whip into shape by fully finishing those by the end of the year. Now, the dragon has actually been FFO'd and given to the 13-year-old that it was stitched for, and the 13-year-old is absolutely thrilled. So, fingers crossed that I will find my way to doing that. And thank you to Andrew for all of the inspiration. And of course, we all send you our love in these days where you have more stitching time, albeit unexpectedly. But I trust that there's many great things coming along your way in the future. I know that you've got such great potential. Now, if we talk about the acrostic, I've been attributing this acrostic to a Kiwi and an Aussie go traveling, but then I heard somebody else saying that it was actually Adelaide stitches, so I'm not sure if I've been saying it wrong or whether they've all been doing this together. But the acrostic for this month is actually the month November. So for N, we have the Noel sampler. You did not see it today because I did not get enough into it to show. O for outside. So certainly my By the Shore is a stitch that embraces being outside. V for violet, and I do have different shades of violet in By the Shore and my Noel sampler. E for Etsy, my Quaker flag was purchased on Etsy. M for mandala, you saw my beautiful pink mandala that was the chakra earlier. B for keel build toucan, which is also a bird, so there's build and bird in that, which is a mud puppy stitchery. I have made progress, but it is one of those pieces that you actually have to get quite a bit done for it to actually show. So that's going to be one of my focuses for the next couple of weeks. E for Etsy with the temperature chart. I'm planning to get caught up. And R for the ruby-throated hummingbird that you saw me showcase earlier. Now, we are talking about 2026, and being that this is slightly shorter than normal, although I'm seeing it's only slightly, in 2026, my BAP, I'm going to be embracing another Stitches So Beautiful, doing blossoms and butterflies. But I do want to experience a Haid, so I'm also doing Catnap, but I'm doing the mini so that I don't have 2 that are massive going. I think I showed myself this year with completing the butterfly as well as the dragon face, that I can have more than 1 full coverage on at a time. And certainly you know that I'm going to be going all out on my cat stocking for the next time as well. Now, my Flosstube friends and I are doing a round robin. I haven't said a lot about this. In an earlier video, I showed you a pattern called Flosstube Friends that CJ nicely gifted me. And when I showed it, Lisa of Forest City Stitching said, "Oh my goodness, this is shouting at me for a round robin. I've wanted to organize one of those for quite some time, and now I'm seeing the pattern that deserves to have this done." So what she did was she contacted some Canadian Flosstubers. We are going to be mailing around the fabric only that has been stitched on. And we're going to try and trust Canada Post. Oh my word, we're not sure, but we're going to give it a go. So it's going to be Lisa, myself, Kathryn of Kathy's Quilts and Stitching, Sheila of Mrs. Stitches, Sarah, Rocking Chair Stitcher, and Darlene, yes, Darlene of Darlene Dion Designs. So all of these people have absolutely awesome floss tubes that I hope that you will actually go and give a look at. And we are going to be starting this at the beginning of January, giving ourselves 3 months at the beginning of the year to stitch the border. Yes, Kim, we're going to stitch the border and one of the 5 figures, and then we'll send it around and it will go to the next person. We are embracing the individuality of each of the Flosstubers and saying, stitch it with the kind of thread that you like and with the colors that you like. You do not have to do what is called for. Make it your own, so that when this ultimately goes back to the original person, that it will be a true gathering of these Flosstube friends. Now, the last time we were together, I mentioned the sheet calendar by Lotus Lake, which I'm doing with Jen's Stitchy Corner, and Mary is jumping onto that one. I'd love to have more people come on. I know I've had a few people ask where I got that. I am going to stitch another full coverage butterfly by Doreen Jones. I absolutely love it. I have purchased a Grand Gathering by Flossabilities. I know many of you did the wonderful Lola Crow birds stitch this year. I did not, and I found a few people that didn't, and so we're going to do birds next year with a Grand Gathering. For a year in the woods, I am hoping to do 4 of those next year. I accomplished 3 this year. Well, I plan to finish the reindeer. Leigh has already finished hers. I already finished the raccoon, and I finished the bear. So I'm hoping to do the beaver and the fox. And then they just released a chipmunk in year 2, and I love chipmunks, so I really want to do that guy next year as well. And of course, Cross Stitch in the Forest is a book by Max Pigeon that has 25 glorious patterns in it. Well, 24 for me because I don't stitch big bugs. I don't stitch bugs mostly. When I do spiders, I give them 6 legs to make them cute. So I'm going to be continuing to work my way through that book in the hopes that I have almost all of them accomplished before his release of his next book that he is teasing now on Instagram. He's predicting a fall 2026 release, and I know that many of us are very excited. You purchase the book through something like Amazon, and when you get down to it, if you pay $32 to $35 Canadian for this book, and there's 25 patterns, that's $1 and change per pattern. Max is really giving us a gift. Now, it happens that I also have other patterns by Max, so we'll see how this all goes next year. But I just wanted to give you a little insight into what 2026 planning I was doing. And as you know, I will be doing smalls galore throughout the year and having a lot of fun doing it. Speaking of smalls, there will be one more regular floss tube in 2026, in 2 weeks from now. And then soon after that, we will be reaching December, which is the week, the Flossmas, where you see daily videos. Now, this year I am doing something a little bit different. I am recording Flossmas with Karen, the Twitchy Stitcher, and creating a Y2K, Your Two Karens video set for you. We will be soon videoing number 1 together. Karen has said she'd be happy to come to my house so I wouldn't sneeze with triple the felines at her house. And I almost want to sneeze thinking about it. And so we will record number 1 and release it on December 1st together. And then she will take the even number dates and I will take the odd number dates. So we are both embracing this particular book by Emma Congdon, Mary Stitchmas. Karen is going to be doing the Advent calendar out of here, whereas I'm going to be working my way through this book doing many ornaments. In a perfect world, I will embrace 25 ornaments, but we will see how this all goes. My focus will be Christmas stitching in December, but I will still be picking something each day that is not Christmas to get it either to a finish or closer to a finish. And then at the end of December, after the 25th is over, I will have one wrap-up video to discuss how many stitches I got in this year. I have not even tried to know so far, but I think I've been doing pretty good. Most months I get at least 30,000 stitches in. Some months 40,000. So we will see. So this is a book that we are going to embrace, and we are going to freely use our own colors as we see fit. There is, when I stitch Satsuma Street, I do the prescribed colors because I really, really love how Christmas looks in those pinks and aquas. In this book, there is an embracing of the more orangey colors that I just finished stitching with Halloween, so I'm not really thinking orangey red. I want to do red. I also just wanted to show you this book. So this is a find by my sister-in-law. Now, so it's Sam Hawkins' 520 cross-stitch designs, and it's literally, most of the pages in here are designs. I did find one the other day. Okay, so this is an example of the smalls that are in here. Now, she found this in a $2 bin at a bookstore. And then she did not spend a lot of time with it, and I asked if I could borrow it and keep it for a while, and she graciously said yes. So I'm going to be stitching some Christmas out of here to complement other things. So I won't just be doing Emma Congdon in December. And of course, there are many Shannon Christine Christmas patterns out there and many beautiful Christmas freebies. So that's where I am going for Flossmas, and I hope that you will enjoy seeing some shorter videos of mine in the month of December. And now that I've explained what's happening next year, we're at the normal length of video. Wow. Okay, so my moment for music today, I want to say to everybody that whether you are celebrating Thanksgiving this month, celebrated Thanksgiving last month, or indeed celebrate Thanksgiving every single day as each of us should, I hope that we all will give thanks. And so it is that we're here again at the end of another video time together. I hope that you are having a wonderful month and that as you watched my video today, you stitched with me by having fabric, floss, and needle in hand, and that as you made something beautiful, you made yourself happy. Take care. We'll see you again soon.